In late 2013 and early 2014, Ukraine was gripped by a massive popular uprising known as the Euromaidan. For weeks, protesters filled the streets of Kyiv, demanding a shift away from Russian influence and towards European integration. This movement culminated in February 2014 with the Revolution of Dignity, which led to the ousting of the pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych. As Yanukovych fled, a power vacuum emerged, and the Kremlin decided to act swiftly to secure its interests in the region. Immediately following the revolution, the world witnessed an unconventional military operation. Unmarked Russian troops, often referred to as "little green men," began occupying strategic points across the Crimean Peninsula. This diamond-shaped territory in the Black Sea was highly coveted for its naval bases and beaches. The seizure was quick and largely bloodless, taking the West by surprise. By early March, Russian forces had effectively overrun the entire peninsula, setting the stage for a dramatic geopolitical shift. On March 16, 2014, Russia held a referendum in Crimea that was dismissed by Ukraine and the West as illegitimate and illegal. 2 days later, on March 18th, the annexation was formalized. In Russia, this move touched off a massive wave of patriotism. The rallying cry, "Krim nash," meaning Crimea is ours, echoed across the country. President Vladimir Putin's popularity soared, with his approval ratings jumping from 65% to a staggering 86% within months. However, this annexation was recognized internationally by only a handful of nations, such as North Korea and Sudan. Putin described Crimea as a sacred place for Russia, but for many living there, the annexation brought fear and prosecution. Specifically, the Crimean Tatars, who strongly opposed the move, faced systemic pressure and legal action for arguing that the peninsula remained part of Ukraine. Internationally, the illegal seizure sent relations between Moscow and the West into a downward spiral unseen since the Cold War. The United States and the European Union imposed heavy sanctions on Russian officials and the economy, isolating Moscow on the global stage. The annexation of Crimea paved the way for further conflict. By April 2014, pro-Russian protests spread to southeastern Ukraine, and Russian-backed militants began seizing towns and cities in the eastern Donbas region. These insurgents proclaimed the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics as independent states. While Russia denied direct involvement, there was abundant evidence of covert support, including the provision of tanks, artillery, and troops. The International Criminal Court would later judge this as both a national and international armed conflict involving Russia. In July 2014, the conflict reached a tragic peak when Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 was shot down over eastern Ukraine, killing all 298 people aboard. A Dutch court later found that a Russia-supplied air defense system was used to fire the missile. By 2015, despite the signing of the Minsk II agreements, the fighting became a static conflict likened to trench warfare. Front lines remained largely unchanged for years as ceasefires were repeatedly broken. The European Court of Human Rights eventually judged that Russia had maintained control over the separatist regions from 2014 onward. The events of 2014 and 2015 fundamentally reshaped the European security landscape. What began as a local protest in Kyiv transformed into a long-term geopolitical struggle that has resulted in hundreds of thousands of deaths and a massive refugee crisis. The occupation of Crimea and the war in Donbas became the defining features of a new, dangerous era in international relations, one that continues to impact the world today.